So we've got bag 4 poured out, and the minifigs for this bag. Looks like we've got Daredevil, and this is the one I've been looking forward to the very most. This is the very first time Daredevil has actually had a physical minifig in any Lego set, and I think it turned out great. You know, in a perfect world, they would have done a whole new like head mold, but instead what they do is it's just a little like devil horn kind of piece that goes on top of his head. Just plugs in. It's funny because you end up with kind of like a little hole up there. So, but it still looks really good. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Daredevil is my favorite Marvel character. So I'm putting him with his buddy Frank Castle. And for this bag, we also have Amber Grant. Now, she's a freelance photographer in the comics, and I did a little research because that name didn't ring a bell for me at all. But I didn't feel too bad when I realized just how obscure this character was. Turned out she was like an obscure Defenders character, like from the old comics. So I didn't feel too bad once I figured that out. So definitely a very, very, very obscure character. I'm not even, I don't know if they just like randomly just looked through old comics and got some of these names or got in touch with somebody at Marvel. But it does seem really random and doesn't even seem that purposeful for some of these named characters who could have easily been, you know, like others. All right, well, let's go ahead and get to it. I'll open up my book and we'll get right to it. Now, I will say there seems to be a massive amount of stuff in the bags that make up bag 4. It's almost a misnomer to call it bag 4 because there's like, I had to open up like 5 smaller bags to get everything that was labeled bag 4. So, but you know, you get it. Okay, first things first, we have one of those big screens. So we just have a flat black piece. And then we get one of those lovely stickers, which make me nervous. Oh, cool. This is the one, this is the Morbius sticker right here. It says panic as garlic supplies hit an all-time low. Vampire spotted on subway. Would have been great if they had actually gotten us a Morbius in this set. I mean, I know that there's the Jared Leto movie coming out, and I suppose maybe Lego is going to wait till closer to that, maybe. And so that might be when we see that minifig kind of emerge. But still, it would have been nice. I guess they're very much intended to be teases on these signs and things, because it seems a little cruel, some of this, where it's like, you know, oh, here's a Easter egg for Morbius. Wouldn't it have been nicer if we just got Morbius? But I understand. I know Morbius is not one of the most famous Spider-Man villains by any means, but I love Morbius, particularly the animated series and what they did with Michael Morbius. He was very, very sympathetic in that show. You guys remember Morbius in the Spider-Man animated series? He was going out with the Black Cat, Felicia Harding, and he had his accident with the, I think they call it the genetic recombinator in the show. I have no idea if that name has any basis in science fact or if that's completely science fiction. And I'm putting this sticker on off camera because I don't want to goof up too badly. I don't know. This is sort of decent, I guess. Let's see. I promise I will switch back to on-screen building as soon as I have the sticker halfway decent. Of course, I loved how the Spider-Man animated series found a way to incorporate Blade at a time when Blade was not a thing. As a matter of fact, some of the writers from Spider-Man the animated series have always kind of been negative a little bit about not being compensated at all for some of their ideas that, wouldn't you know it, ended up in the Blade film in, what was it, 98? Wesley Snipes. So I don't know if that was like just happening simultaneously or if that's a little muddled about like who really deserves credit for some of those concepts, but apparently there might be a tad little bit of controversy. Here we go. I think that's pretty decent. I did all right. Took me a few tries there. But I do think there is a little bit of maybe some apprehension about some of those ideas, like trying to remember some of them. I think some things about Blade's origin were altered in the Spider-Man animated series that then they, wouldn't you know it, made their way into the live-action film. And there seemed to be a lot of disagreement about who was actually responsible for those ideas. It wouldn't surprise me a bit if the writers of Spider-Man the animated series got the shaft somehow, though. Seems to be a tradition. You can ask in comics or comics media. You can ask Jack Kirby's family, right? Guy got cheated out of so much. And by Stan Lee himself. So we love Stan Lee, but make no mistake, he was an unscrupulous businessman. Maybe not quite as bad as Bob Kane or somebody. Okay, this is interesting. I'll show my camera here. It's like a TV screen that you mount on the side. I was wondering what that was for. Okay, that's cool, actually. I like that detail quite a bit. All right. Now we got the screen in. Let's keep going with more traditional building. Looks like we just have some covers that's going to keep the building together right here on this first floor. And I'm really glad that it seems that everything is really sturdy when it's assembled like this, because it's going to give me a lot more confidence in the whole modularity of the different levels of the building. And that's something that if you don't have that kind of build security, then you're not going to want to pull it apart. It's kind of like how I felt about taking parts of the Ghostbusters firehouse off. I was kind of like, I don't really want to do that. Seems like too much for a risk. All right, got that. Oh, and it goes over the middle too. I guess that's to level it out. Okay. I'm kind of excited about the new Lego Harry Potter sets that came out today. I'm not the world's biggest Harry Potter fan, but I absolutely love the Harry Potter Lego sets. I think I'm really partial to just any of the fantasy Lego sets. I had a pretty much complete collection, which I still have, but it's in storage, of the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit Lego themes. So it makes a big difference. But I don't know what it is. I guess it's just memories of being a kid, and a lot of the Lego sets were castle and kind of that sort of fantasy theme. So I think that really stuck with me. All right, put those guys on. Okay. Next up, looks like we have some of the flat pieces. For all the people who hate Lego studs, this is your step. I definitely understand why a lot of people want things to be smooth on the outside of Lego sets, but at the same time, I mean, if you're into Lego, I mean, the studs kind of make them Lego pieces, so it's kind of funny to me that some people like hate them or find them atrocious. I mean, that's fine, I guess. To each their own. Okay, this up here. Did you guys see the Batman 66 cowl from the Batman cowl collection? Looks pretty great. Okay. All right, that's looking pretty complete for the first floor there. Looks nice. Okay. So this looks like we're going to be doing a section of breakaway wall right here, which is kind of funny. I really hadn't noticed it very much before, but here's the building all the way around. You have your exit sign back there. You have your regular side of the building there. Here's Peter's kind of stash of clothes in that backpack. And hilariously, we have this big chunk of wall. So I think that what we're doing here is we are just building back the piece of wall. I think it's really fun to build these abnormal shapes because this is definitely not like your standard sort of just square piece of a wall. And it's amazing how much, well, just how much better the Lego group is getting at designing like weird shapes like this. I remember even just as far back, which wasn't long ago, for them when they were doing, like, say, the Avengers Age of Ultron stuff, which wasn't that many years ago. Those were really good sets, but when you look at just how far we've come, it's amazing to see it just move forward as an art form. And it is, in my opinion. Lego is as much of a valid medium of art as anything else, as paint or plaster or whatever. Okay, starting to get our wacky shape going here. All right. It's already looking really cool. I like the kind of weird shape. You can see we're already starting to get something that's going to fit into here eventually. Hopefully. Just plug that right there. There. I guess there's not as many pieces in this bag as it first appeared. There was lots of separation for bag 4, so there was like 5 different bags that everything came in, but I guess it's just because there was variety of pieces. All right. So at least I know it won't take forever now. There. Yeah, a whole lot of these pieces are just going to making this funny piece of wall. It's funny, I was painting, doing some custom work on a figure earlier, so it's high quality paint, so that blue is a little stubborn. Oh, I see. So these are like the little ridge pieces here. And I guess we'll see the functionality of these here in a little while. So they actually had a 1-by-1 representation of this in the instruction manual, to where you could actually see like exactly how to lay this on. So you just laid it over it. I was glad when they do that kind of thing. All right, I think that's ready to go in. So let's just see if that just, there's not really anything aside from just friction holding this in here, I don't think. Yeah, it's just pure friction. And this, you know, piece, if you push this way, is kind of keeping it in. But truthfully, it's just it just knocks away. So I like that it's all one big piece. And I also like that we get a little handle down here. So if you wanted to, you could technically pull it off that way too. I don't know, I kind of like it. It's really cool to see them match such an odd shape with just like a brick built piece. I was losing my voice. Piece. All right, so now I'm supposed to take 16 of these like girder supports and put around the building. So here's what's even weirder is, yeah, even though they're the same, these pieces were split up into different bags. You would think for sure that everything would like go in the same type of bag, but no. It also explains why we have so many of those like connector like areas like these, because this is just where you put these on. Okay. So that's cool. All right. It's not quite as easy to connect those as I thought it would be. Okay. Ah, my background's trying to fall over. Get Carnage out of the way here. Poor little Cletus Cassidy. We definitely want him to be safe. Poor little feller. Poor feller. I'm going to start a rumor that Opie from the Andy Griffith Show, Ron Howard, I'm going to start a rumor that he grew up and became Carnage. It's kind of like that rumor that was always around when I was a kid, that Paul, the really geeky best friend from the Wonder Years, that was actually Marilyn Manson. Which is stupid when you think about it. But there was enough of a resemblance, I think, to where that people were like all about it. I remember. And it was like a fact people would just throw out there. And keep in mind, this was before the era of easy internet fact checking. So people were just throwing it out, you know, all the time. Oh, I can't believe Marilyn Manson grew up to be so vulgar. Wasn't he Paul on the Wonder Years? So this is not sticking quite as well as I think I'm... Okay, I think that fixed it. I think something wasn't quite turned right, and now I've got it. Okay. Once again, I'm kind of shocked by how difficult it is to stick those on. Don't think I'm doing anything wrong, but... And the truth is that the Lego group just doesn't make many buildings, like skyscrapers like this. I mean, they make lots and lots of buildings, and modular buildings and things, in different themes, but a skyscraper, like something this vertical, it's kind of a rarity. All right. Moving on. be honest, I had no idea that that's what these little connectors would be used for on the surface of the building. I'm certainly glad they did that, though, because it gives it those supports that you would see in an actual modern skyscraper. So I'm really pleased. Just visually, and I think structurally, too. Something that gives it that little extra something, I guess. See, little did I realize when I was first getting all the bags out that that's mostly what step 4, that's most of what it is you trying to get these supports all around it. Okay. All right, I think that does it for that. It's funny, there's a lot more of the bags are just like green, or a lot more of the pieces, should I say, are just really just green little pieces. So I don't know if we're doing more stuff with the floor that has little accents in the bottom or what. Looks like we got some plant pieces in here too. And we also are working on this right above the canopy. Put that right there. I don't know about you all, but this is a funny thing that may just be me. You know how, like, you try to avoid movie spoilers? I try to avoid Lego spoilers, and I know this is crazy, but, like, I try not to watch a bunch of video reviews and I don't even look at the pictures, like, super closely, because I almost want there to be sort of a spontaneity as I'm building. And that may sound absolutely ridiculous, but I kind of just want it. I want to be sort of surprised by what I'm making as I go. And I feel like if you study it a little too closely, then it almost ruins some sort of element of surprise. Maybe that's the craziest thing. I don't know. That could be like the craziest thing. But it's something, I don't know, that I kind of can't help but think about. So it looks like this is the Daily Bugle sign right here, or it's going to be once we sticker it. And we're getting this from the little sticker sheet right here. This is sticker number 23. And I don't get as nervous about the little stickers because that seems a little more manageable. But wouldn't it be a shame to totally mess up the Daily Bugle sign? Like it's the main thing you see. And some people may scoff at this idea, but I personally think in like the really ultra expensive sets, like the $200 and up, which to me, and I think most Americans and people all over the world, regardless of what form of currency you're putting in, these sets are expensive. They just are. And don't you think that there ought to be, like, they ought to have duplicates of the sticker sheets? I know some people, you know, because we're not used to it, it sounds crazy. Like, oh man, they never do that. They never give you duplicates. Why not? I mean, if you mess up, it is so easy to mess up that I really think it would save Lego trouble in the end. Because I, like many other AFOLs, have had to get replacement sticker sets. And so, no, I don't think it's unreasonable to be like, you know, maybe we should just go ahead and pack in some extra stickers. I don't think that's unreasonable. I really don't. So here's this. I'm a little confused as to what it is. Maybe it'll be more apparent when I put it on here. It does confuse me slightly. I think that goes directly behind the sign here. looks like we now know what this is, grabbing one of these. Okay, got that on there. All right. And this appears to be more Daily Bugle signage. The internet isn't even ready for my mock project, which is just going to be the Daily Show building. Better yet, I'm going to be doing the TLC. All right, let's get this. So this is one of those irritating things where it's okay. No, it's not. At first, I thought it was going to be one of those pieces where you put two stickers side by side, and they're supposed to connect, like on two different pieces, like Daily Bugle up there. But no, there's something in the middle, which is good. Because anytime you're supposed to have continuity between two stickers to make one image, it's kind of a nightmare. Which is exactly what they did with the Mystery Machine. I remember that was an incredibly frustrating set. Nothing to do with the build. Absolutely nothing to do with the build. Just the stickers were supposed to, you were supposed to basically connect the stickers all through the model. And when the stickers connected, it was supposed to be, you know, like the seamless, like cartoon design on the Mystery Machine, and it didn't really work out like that. Because as Lego sticker applicators, we're used to getting the sticker equidistant, however you want to say it, like on the piece. So that means you're going to have the same amount of space all around. Like the top will have the same amount of negative space left, because the stickers never completely cover the surface, of course. You know, it would be very hard for them to die cut the stickers to do that, and it would mean that you would have to have like robot precision about putting it on. But because of that, because we're trained to do that, that means when a design is supposed to just seamlessly flow from one piece to the next, often it doesn't. So I find that irritating with those sets. I don't know if that's something anybody else finds to be irritating, but it is for me. It happened recently. Yeah, it was on the Monkey Kid HQ boat. And it was this yellow sign. Anybody who's built it probably knows what I'm talking about. This yellow sign that said Monkey or Monkey Kid. And it wasn't until after I applied the stickers that I was like, oh, the gap is so huge where the word monkey splits that it was really distracting. So it's just one of those irritating things. But like I said, it does appear this has the bugle, the cartoony bugle, like that's the separator here. So it's not like it's a very big deal. I don't think it's not like the ones I'm talking about where they have to be one continuous like cartoon image. Okay. That actually worked out pretty decently. Happens every now and then. You'll get it lined up just right. So these each go on one of these sides of this sign. And what I like is, yeah, okay. Let's see. Well. Oh no, the Daily Bugle's under attack already. Oh no. Okay. Get that right there. It's funny, I wasn't even thinking about finishing the sign when I was talking about how the first level was pretty much complete. I thought I was on to the other levels. That's what I'm talking about with that building spontaneity. That's what I mentioned earlier. Okay. All right, that looks pretty decent. Time to move on. I guess there's going to be something to connect these later because these are just kind of dangling right here. So next we have to go to the back of the building. Here we go. And it appears we're going to be building a ventilation system. So only in Lego would we get excited about the possibility of building an HVAC unit. Like, oh, really? Wow. The way Lego is going now, you almost halfway expect it to function. Okay, and here's our first animal minifig that we've got in the set, if I can find it. Here it is. It is a dove or a New York pigeon, whatever you want to call it. And it is supposed to just be chilling on this unit. So let's get this piece on there. Okay, that's right. And then he goes, or she goes right there. Just chilling on the top of an air unit. And we have the little grate pieces. They're great. Sorry. It was a horrible joke. All right. Looking good. Nice. I'm going to go ahead and attach that, and that's why we have this black strip here. These studs. There we go. Now, I almost couldn't figure out which piece this was. In LEGO instruction manuals, when something is transparent, it is really difficult to tell it's transparent. It just looks white. So I thought for sure there was supposed to be a white one of those set in there, but there was not. Okay. And it looks like this is a little back light, like in the back alley. So that's cool. It's like a light over the back door. Like the Foot Clan knocked out in the 1990 Turtles movie over April when she's leaving the news station, Channel 6. Yeah, that's pretty cool looking. We get another one of these little brackets. Okay, looks good. And right over top. Okay, there's our backlight. Now we get to use some of these mini green pieces that we had in bag number 4. And there are a many. Okay. 2 of the long ones. They go in these indentions that were left on the sidewalk. There we go. Not exactly sure what this is going to turn out to be. I think this is maybe the newspaper stand that I remember seeing in some of the pictures. I think it is. This is where Amber Grant, that minifigure, is supposed to, I think, set and sell papers or stand. All right. Yeah. Pretty sure. A lot of great new Lego sets shown off in the past couple of days. One of them being the new 66 Adam West Batman Cal Lego set. Something I didn't actually know I needed in Lego until I saw it. Oh, that's fine, Waylon. You been doing okay, buddy? How's summer treating you so far? Waylon, you may be interested in this new set they've shown. It's like the Batman cowl I built that last time, but it's based on the old 60s Batman show. It's really cool looking. I'm really pleased with it. Of course, I'm pretty easy to please when it comes to Batman, so. All right. Okay. I like this newspaper sales stall because it's going together quickly. It's one thing, and I'll always brag on Lego for doing this, and I bragged on them in the last live stream, that they know how to take a big build and make it less monotonous by giving you like these mini builds as you go through to kind of break things up. Because if they didn't do that, could you imagine if it was all just one straight shot building the entire Daily Bugle skyscraper? It would be absolutely, I think it would be exhausting, really, if that's the way they did it. I wouldn't be a fan of that. Oh yeah, absolutely, man. That Daredevil minifig is killer. It's the one I've been kind of waiting on, and there you go. I'll just plop him right there. We're gonna put the Punisher in there too, because that's his buddy. After a brief misunderstanding, that's his pal. Okay. But yeah, it's awesome that they finally did that. Been waiting for years for a good Daredevil minifig, and finally it happened. It probably would have, if they had released one sooner, I would have gotten into the Lego Marvel stuff like way earlier, because Daredevil can sway me on just about anything when it comes to like a product line. If they'll do a Daredevil, I'll get right into it. I'll buy it. Okay, and I think this is the newspaper like holder, like the display thing for the paper. Okay. All right. This is where you put one of the duplicates of that paper where it says no crime, no thanks to Spider-Menace. Yeah, this is it. looking just like the Sam Raimi font and that look for the Daily Bugle, which I'm glad that that's what they went with. And I know it's pretty universal in the comics too, but still. Okay, and that goes right there. Oh, I see. It kind of gives it the illusion that it's on the top of a stack of papers, so that's pretty cool. I like it. Okay, and that goes in the front of the paper stall right here. I remember when I visited Washington, D.C., that, yeah, Daredevil, it turns out he partnered with Spider-Man. He's just as bad a criminal as Spider-Man. Remember when I went to Washington, D.C., they had this really cool like display in the streets where they had all of the Sunday papers for all 50 states. And sure enough, I looked in there and the Herald Leader, the Lexington Herald Leader, was on there. That was pretty cool. Have a little bit of home that far away. Okay. I think this is more of the paper sales stall. Okay, now we're going to build like a little wall that shows all the papers and things on display in the background. So that's cool. Let's get that done. Right there. Okay, these are all going to have stickers on them, so yay. Not. I don't mean to be such a sour sport about stickers, but when you're trying to be as careful as you can, it slows things down. Oh, I like that. Business, Fisk. Now, a lot of people are hoping, and me too, that that is a reference that, hey, here pretty soon there's going to be a Wilson Fisk Kingpin minifigure. I hope so. I'm not, not holding out hope against hope or anything, but I hope so. All right, and the decals that go on these are transparent. So let's see if I can get it on there decently. These are super small, so you would think that because they're not the big massive ones that they're a little easier, and they are, like in some ways, but in some ways it's harder. I guess I should be using like tweezers. I've seen lots of people do that. I've seen some people use the water drop method where they actually place a drop of water under the sticker and then guide the sticker. And I don't think I could do that. I mean, if people can, that's cool. And clearly they're pretty talented to be able to do that. But I don't think I could get used to that. First time I'd try it, I would probably accidentally drown out my stickers or like ruin them some way. And I know that these have like some kind of laminate or plastic coating to where I don't think that would be a problem. But if there's a way, I'd find it. If there's a way. Okay, looking good so far. Let's see here. 14. Now it's making me switch to the big sticker sheet for just one of those. So it must be about the printing or the colors, or they could save money by putting it on the other sheet. This looks like a New York City. I see the Statue of Liberty there. See if I can make it focus. It's kind of cool. I think that's as much as it's going to focus. These are probably supposed to be like signage for different papers, maybe, but in a way they almost look like license plates. Like you've seen that at like vintage restaurants and things. Yeah, I know, right? That was crazy. Like for years, I've been covering Mattel stuff, but I'll tell you, I'm actually working on a video right now it's kind of about a funny solution, or not a solution, but a funny little ending to that story, because it turned out today, and was hilarious to me. I can't help but think it's funny that Mattel accidentally Amazon leaked a brand new He-Man figure, like an official Amazon listing from Mattel leaked a completely brand new, never seen before He-Man figure. And I thought it was hilarious because to me, I'm like, oh, what are you guys going to do? Copyright strike Amazon? Couldn't have happened to a nicer company. I thought it was great. Tickled me to death. I think it was worth me getting a copyright strike so that I could see that happen to Mattel. And I am definitely going to make it a fuss in a video. I'm not above that. I wish I was, but I'm certainly not above making fun of Mattel for really the exact thing they got onto me over. What are you guys going to do? Get onto Amazon? Since I'm not leaking their stuff, I guess that means that they can get Amazon to leak it for them. All right. Exactly. That's some poetic justice right there. It's the best kind of justice. It's toy justice, which it turned out is a thing. Who knew it was a thing? I didn't know it was a thing until it happened. Reminds me of the Tick. I love justice. All right. Okay. Looks good. Now we'll cover it over with the smooth panels for all the people who hate Lego studs. There you go. For all those folks, I'm sure they're very happy. See, look at that. Looking like a actual newspaper sales stall there. It's hard to believe this bag is almost done. This went by super quickly, and I thought it would be kind of like one of the longer ones. Not necessarily. That's something I really have to compliment the designers on, is that it seems like every time that I think it's going to be kind of a longer sort of ordeal, it seems like this is much more manageable than I think it is, or I think it's going to be. So good for them. Finding a way to make it more bearable, I guess. Okay, so there. It's interesting looking. I'm assuming something's going to go up there. Yep, sure enough, a big sign. Guess this tells what's on sale. Okay. We have this big transparent sticker here that says newsstand, comics, magazines, and postcards, especially comics though, right? Though I find it humorous that anybody in the Spider-Man world would even need to read a comic book. I mean, they would literally could just watch the news and see a superhero movie play out every night. Get home and be like, forget watching something that's made up. You just watch something that would be in that world real. It'd be the most exciting thing around. So, let's see. Let's try that again. Every now and then I start to place one of these stickers and I just get a bad feeling about it. So, time to try again. Yeah, it's decent. Okay, good enough. If I get too obsessive with these stickers, then it just ruins the whole thing. It's never going to be like perfect as much as you want it to. Oh yeah, those McFarlane figures are nice. I've been buying a lot of their DC stuff. They've been doing quality stuff for years. And then all their video game stuff is really pretty nice. Not bad at all. Used to, when I was a kid, or really a teenager, McFarlane was a big figure company, but you knew that whenever you got one of their figures, they really couldn't move. They had like no articulation whatsoever. But that's something that has changed dramatically in the last few years. Now they're starting to embrace that super articulated kind of nature to them. Before that, and back in my day, they were very much just for display. They could do one pose, maybe the arm would turn, maybe the leg would turn. But that was it. I mean, there wasn't anything else to them in terms of movement. But I'm glad that they're starting to branch out and become more competitive. Now, I've never seen something connect quite like this because the little prongs connected to the little pegs back here. So it's on here in a really funny way. I'm not even sure what the point of that is, but okay. Looking good, looking good. Nice. That's right. That's right. We're taking that all the way to the bank. So for the front of the building, and I was wondering what these plant pieces were. We're going to be building some potted plants. So here we go. Only in Lego can you build dirt. And that's what these are. These are the pots for the plants. Okay. So that goes in there. Some of those magical moments in the Lego instruction manual when you just do something twice. It's always a relief. Okay. Have these generic little plant pieces. Here. Okay, those are good. Connect that. There's I'm throwing pieces. There's a ton of these little flowers to put on. If your fingers are as big as mine, it's kind of difficult. Okay. feel like I'm a miniature gardener. Oh yeah. It's an incredible game. Absolutely incredible. Still haven't finished it, but I plan on it. It's a very long game, if you want it to be. Very, very long game. Ooh, it took forever. All right, and then the actual flowers go on top. And I think they actually have extra of these. So I'm actually going to go a little against the directions. Kind of do some different things because it's a little boring the way that they have it. So I'm going to put them in more unusual locations. Okay. Then we have a couple of these giant leafy green pieces. I'm also going to go a little off script on these. I think they can be a lot more interesting if you just place them where it seems right. Just use your own judgment. All right. So that's one on each side, and that's what those little connectors were for that I was putting Daredevil and Punisher on. Okay, so one goes there. And then the other goes on the other side. There we go. Okay, and that apparently does it for Bag Series 4. So, time to move on. Oh yeah, those Arkham games are some of my favorites ever. I still remember when the first one came out. To me, it was the whole reason that I bought a PS3 or owned any kind of newer system at that time. Now, I will say that people like to act like there had never, ever been a good Batman game before. And that's not exactly true. There had been some fairly decent Batman games leading up to the Arkham series. There's a game called Batman Vengeance. Batman Vengeance was a really cool game. And it was based on the animated series. And it had come out on the PS2. Eventually, they put it out on the Xbox and the GameCube. But to me, that was the first Batman game where I said, okay, this is getting closer to being really something special. And then the Batman Begins game was actually pretty advanced. And it was actually pretty well received, too. It was like a stealth action game. And it was really inspired by Splinter Cell. That was when Splinter Cell was getting really big. And so I was actually really pleased with that game. It wasn't perfect, but to me, the Batman Begins game really paved the way for what the Arkham games would be. But nobody talks about it. Everybody just everybody makes fun of that game now. But at the time, it was really well done. Really well done. Although they kind of committed the sin of making Batman feel like he should just hide, or like making you feel like you should just hide instead of confront bad guys. And if you're going to do a Batman game, maybe you ought to make the player feel formidable. Oh wow, yeah, I guess I was in college when the game first came out, so I was getting my degree at that time. I remember hearing the news, and this is something that is probably lost to time, but it was kind of a scandal that the game was delayed. And, you know, at that time, licensed games weren't very, nobody thought licensed games would be any good. And I remember worrying that, uh-oh, you know, Arkham has gotten delayed, and that probably means it's just as bad as all these other Batman games. No, I was happy to say I was wrong. Oh, nice. Nice. Well, did you grab the Daily Bugle, or what did you end up finding there? Hopefully something good. And hopefully you live a lot closer to a Lego store than I do. Because I am far off from one, I'm afraid. Well, about 3 hours away. To me, that's too far. All right. So here is something really special. Yeah, we have the Sandman, and I really like the cool, like, rock piece. That's him, like, in a tornado of, like, rocks and sand. This is the cab driver. I think his name is Bernie. Oh, cool. Yeah. Have you built the Everyone is Awesome set yet? With all the cool colors and the kind of the rainbow look? Because that just looks like a really neat eye-catching kind of display sort of piece. Something you could see, you know, from a mile away if you have that sucker set up. Like I think that would actually look pretty nice. So apparently we are building the beginnings of the cab. Tomorrow's project. Oh yeah, that would be awesome actually. That'd be terrific, and a great conversation starter at the office. Definitely very eye-catching build. All right, looks cool. I'm sure that is the undercarriage of the cab. Wouldn't it be hilarious if, you know, and this would never happen, but it's just my random thought of the day. Let's say that, like, Lego had a set that just absolutely bombed, right? Just did horrible. The numbers just weren't there. And it did so bad that they attempted to salvage their failure by selling off smaller builds from the set. Like, say, for instance, if you had, like, this Daily Bugle, and we know it's not the case, but if it was just, like, this massive failure, and then they just had to, like, try to strip all the cabs out of all the sets and attempt to sell those. Oh yeah, that Sesame Street set, man. That Sesame Street set is no joke. That looks amazing. And like, I grew up in the era of Sesame Street where, like, Bert and Ernie were everything to me and my brother. So it's something I'll admit. Yeah, I'll admit I've thought about it. It looks awesome to me. And to me, the Sesame Street set is just the right size too. Like it's just enough. And because the buildings have the modular like pinholes in them, makes me think that the idea there is that they're going to eventually, you know, branch out with more of Sesame Street. So I'm hoping to see, you know, some more of those really cool, unique minifigs like we're seeing. I mean, you'd hope anyway that that's what they do. I'm trying to remember who they left out this last time. Maybe, yeah. I'm trying to think. And I'll be honest, I have no idea what they would do for like Snuffleupagus or something like that. Like, what do you even do at that point? Mr. Hooper, yeah, that would be cool. I'd be all about that. Getting some of just the human characters, some of the classics in Sesame Street, I think that would be something that adult fans, you know, would really like. Because I think those guys were part of the magic of that show for us. Really something special. And like, you know, while I'm on that topic, I would go as far as to buy like a, if they would offer it, I would probably buy like a Mr. Rogers set. How cool would it be to build like the living room and the little closet where he hangs up his coat and the trolley track and stuff? Like that would actually be neat. And, you know, the little fish tank. And then, you know, have it expand into the kitchen. It really, Mr. Rogers' set, his house, is not a very complicated area. So much so that you could, it really wouldn't be much of a problem to just build out the whole thing. At least I don't think it would be much of a problem. I think it would be pretty easy, really. I would, yeah, definitely rock. I'd buy that in a second. Buy in a second. Of course, I'm just such a massive Fred Rogers fan. Oh, this is funny. This is the old flintlock pistol piece. I suppose this is the exhaust, perhaps, on the taxi cab, or the horn, or something. I don't know. All right. Yeah, that would be cool. I would love to get like King Friday. That would be awesome. I know that there's people who are like really into the Speed Champions sets, and that is really super cool. Like I love those, but to me, I'm much more of a terrain builder when it comes to what I like in a set. So it's always, it's definitely not nauseating or anything like that, but it's not. Yeah, I think that the Daily Bugle building is maybe, maybe it's taller than the Ghostbusters firehouse, but it's not as like wide. It's not as robust. It's just more vertical, I think. But I could be completely wrong on that, and could be proven wrong by the end of this process. I mean, I can barely fit the Ghostbusters firehouse like on a shelf, so I don't have a lot of confidence that I can actually put the Daily Bugle on an enclosed shelf. Yeah, it was, and for me, I don't know about you, but I had to end up reinforcing the roof because just the way that it was built, the roof part would just like snap up off of it. So I had to end up kind of adding a few more studs under the top just so that it would have something to grip to. And just with that kind of massive building, there was a lot of logistical stuff that could go wrong. And even to this day, it's really, really, really difficult to move. And like when I, yeah. I don't think I was necessarily missing a piece, but I ended up, in trying to reassemble it after moving, I ended up breaking a door hinge piece and had to get it out of a another set. Of course, at the time, I wasn't much of a brick linker, so I could have easily, I just was, I guess, ignorant. It wasn't as big a deal back then. Brick link and all that hadn't really come into its own. But nowadays, that would be a quick brick link order for a couple of bucks and, get it fixed. Back then, I didn't know hardly any of that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you and me must be awful similar on a few things, because that's my favorite as well. As a matter of fact, it's funny you would say it, because I have the Ghostbusters firehouse setting right beside of the haunted house in my Lego room. So, well, it's not just a Lego room, but it's where I keep those with some of my figure stuff. So it's funny, I always say that they're neighbors. The Ghostbusters moved there so that they could keep an eye on all the weird happenings at the haunted house. And then when they did the collectible minifig series for Halloween a few years ago, I was very excited, because naturally for me, I just said, well, I know what I'll do. Those guys are all going to live in the haunted house. So now when you open up the haunted house, it's filled with all of the minifigs from the CMF series and a few others too. Like Lego eventually did their own version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You remember Mr. Good and Evil, I think they called it. Yeah, that's a great idea, actually. That old Ecto 1. There's the giant UCS Ecto 1. And it seems like a really cool set. But it's so massive that I'm not exactly sure where I would put it. And I have the old Lego Ideas one. And to me, I'm all about, minifig scale. That's what I like. Not that there's anything wrong, per se, with UCS. Like, I have the UCS 89 Batmobile. And that thing was a beast. I did a... Yeah, Yeah, that thing it's gigantic. And I struggle with exactly where to put it, what to do with it. It ended up on the top of a bookshelf. And that was kind of the only way that I knew how to do it, how to make it happen. It was just put it right on the top of a shelf. It was about an inch too wide to fit on any of the shelves, no matter what I did. And so getting my Batman display just right was a matter of coming out of the shelf. All right, we got a couple of transparent taxi figures. I like how there's a minifig trying to hail a taxi, like a silhouette there. These transparent stickers, I always feel, are a little more fragile than the solid ones. So I'm always much more keenly aware that there's more of a chance of me ripping them or something like that. Now, you talk about the Mega Constructs or Mega Blocks Castle Grayskull. It looked super cool. As a matter of fact, I bought it for Brandon one time, and I don't think he ever put it together. I'm not sure. Maybe Brandon can set the record straight and do a video about it or something if he did. But I thought it was a beautiful looking set. Absolutely beautiful looking set. And, and I put together the giant Technodrome Mega Bloks set, Mega Construct set from Ninja Turtles several years ago. And that's still one of my favorite brick-built things. So I'm definitely not what you'd call a Lego-only snob. I definitely appreciate the other building bricks. Yeah, long build, definitely. Definitely. And that's Grayskull that you're rebuilding? Yeah, the Technodrome, man. I'll have to, before the stream is over, I'll have to show you. I'll have to show you what it looks like. It's crazy. And, some people were finding them at discount stores absolutely awesome looking. Yeah, it's good enough. Sometimes good enough is the best I can do with Lego sticker application. It's time to move on before I have to call a therapist. Yeah, I wish that you could pay Lego to have like their professional, some kind of professional sticker person come in and do it for you, so that I wouldn't have to lay awake at night wondering if my sticker placement is like a quarter of an inch off. That's what's called a sickness, but I can't help it. Can't help it. You know, what's funny is because this is modular and everything, and this is, you know, part of that modular format, you could link Daily Bugle up with Sesame Street or whatever. You could have a hilarious fictional street of stuff. And where's my electric company Spider-Man set, right? Where Morgan Freeman is in the set. It's him and a mute Spider-Man solving mysteries. The electric company is not something I grew up with. I know a lot of people did, but it's something that I'm a little young to have really, you know, had much of any exposure to. I just know Spider-Man was in it. All right, that's it. I went back on YouTube and watched a little bit of the electric company. It was all right. A cool alternative to Sesame Street, I suppose. I didn't center that. You know, maybe he did. It's very possible. Marvel was... I'll tell you this much. I know for sure Spider-Man showed up on Muppet Babies. Like, that was something I remember very well. Yeah, Electric Company, man. That's what I've seen of it. Pretty neat. I like how the villains were just completely outrageous and goofy. Like, and they were causing what I would call mild disturbances. They weren't doing anything super heinous. They were like stealing somebody's sandwich, or maybe they were like rhyming words. I don't know. A really funny one I saw is when Morgan Freeman teamed up with Spider-Man, because Morgan Freeman played, I guess, a police officer, right? And him and Spider-Man were trying to solve this crime, this mystery about who robbed a bakery or something, and it got crazy. Made even funnier by the massive amounts of flour that was flying everywhere. So, yeah, the Punisher's insane guns. I will say that I think it's the most lethal I've ever seen Lego go with guns. Like, even though they're like totally oversized and they're kind of silly, they're also sort of crazy looking. Like, look at this. There's even like a cartridge down here, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know anything about guns. This one looks like it's probably a camera or something, but it's like an Uzi looking thing. Yeah, go right ahead. But I mean, they're wild. All right. Let's see. Bumper here. Yep, looks like a taxi cab bumper to me. Then right here. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely what it looks like. Like Punisher's loaded with an airsoft gun this time. He's tired of the violence. The killing. Make it stop. Don't think that's how the Punisher would feel about it, but maybe. Maybe he's done. Maybe he's done. Maybe Lego Punisher is a man of peace, and we just don't know. Maybe his family were in Central Park when they stepped on like a Lego piece, and it hurt their feet. And Frank's just an angry man who's just distraught. But the most that Lego Punisher will do is say something kind of slightly rude. He's going to give them a stern talking to when he finds those guys that left them Lego pieces laying right around. Shame on him. All right, looking more like a taxi. Getting closer. The Punisher video game from the PS2 and Xbox days was an absolute insane game. Like it's about as crazy as you could imagine a Punisher game being. And the gameplay wasn't like anything to write home about or anything like that, but it was, I think it got by on shock value, like to the utmost. They don't make them like that anymore. They really don't. Okay. All right. It's funny, sometimes I feel like once I've built one Lego minifig scale car, that I've built them all in some form or another. There's they're not exactly copycat builds, but modern Lego cars have a very similar kind of feel to them as you build them. It's like I saw the Shang-Chi sets, the new Marvel sets, and there's a car set of some sort, and it feels like it would be very similar to this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's different. And more power to the Speed Champions people and folks that are really into that. I'm much more of a terrain builder. That's much more my thing. Putting a building in a Lego set makes me 10 times more likely to buy it. Right. Yeah, and I'm sure that there's probably a good chance there's some kinship there about exactly what it's like and what the building methods are, and to Legos. Yeah, that's something that my wife and we were watching it, the first Lego Masters, and just as kind of a goof or just to see what it was like. Really didn't expect to like it as much, even though I'm like a huge Lego guy. I didn't know if that would be something I would be into. And it turned out I really was. super enjoyable to watch. And it helps that Lego Batman hosted it. So Will Arnett, I guess, is his real name. I'm going to call him Lego Batman. I've said it once. I'll say it again. I've said it a million times. I'm a little upset at the notion that there might not be another Lego Batman movie. I really loved that. And I think it deserves a sequel of some sort. However, they've just announced this Lego Con thing. It's, I think, going to happen at the end of this month or next month or something. Oh, yeah. That Lego drop test, man. That was crazy. There's a talk about some hilarious drama to see those things. And then to watch them, like the competitors, have something go wrong. And to know the feeling of something like that kind of going wrong when you're building. But just imagining that you were under like a time limit, it made it really easy for me to empathize with the people. Like when something fell apart or they dropped something accidentally or something like that, I think that there was tension that only like AFOLs, you know, could really feel when they saw that. Hey, Charles. Yeah, there's no way. Free building, you know, I'll be honest. I love Lego. And it's something that I enjoy doing, you know, all the time. But I have not attempted free building since I was a child. And I guess, you know, there's some people that they can. I am a follow the instructions kind of guy, and I almost feel like Lord Business or Will Ferrell in the Lego movie, because I took that personally when it's like the kids are like down in the basement. And he's like, it's got to be perfect. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, of course it does. He's not such a bad guy after all. I can't believe I never watched the second Lego movie. But apparently, I'm not the only one. Because it didn't do very well. And I'm sure it was probably really good. I don't know. Did you guys watch the glue? Yeah, I can't say that I've glued a Lego set together. But that was the one part where I was like, oh, he's going to glue pieces? Those are perfectly good pieces. But I have not yet watched the second Lego movie. I loved the first one. So I don't really know what happened. Yeah, I'll tell you what was the warning sign for me about it. It's when the trailer came out, and I saw that they were doing like a post-apocalyptic kind of vibe or whatever. And to say I was shocked was an understatement. I'm not really sure what the marketing people or the market research people were like. Oh, I know what the kids will like. They love that Mad Max. You know, I don't really think that was, you know, maybe it's not like that, but from the trailer, you know, that would be wild. Oh, the outside. Yeah. Are you talking about the Batman animated film, Soul Dragon, or is it the I'm trying to think, The Outsiders? That's the, let's see here. Okay. Clarify which one that is, Waylon, so that I can figure out which one you're talking about. Are you talking about like Batman and The Outsiders? Like his team? Got too many different outsiders on the brain. There's been some pretty famous movies called that too. I love how rounded off this cab is. You know, that Statue of Liberty set actually looked awesome. I remember being very impressed by that when that came out. And I remember, you know, there was a few times when it was on clearance, and I probably goofed up by not grabbing that because I looked. It's something you never want to do, but I did it. Oh yeah. Okay, so you are talking about the actual, yeah, the old the Tom Cruise movie, Pony Boy, and all that. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. But I looked up the price for that Statue of Liberty set, and it was like unattainable now. And I was like, yep, you goofed up. Because at the time, I wasn't nearly as serious about the whole Lego thing at that time. And nowadays, it would have been an instant purchase for me. It would have been like, oh, this is, you know, super cool, post-apocalyptic Statue of Liberty. You know, I've got to have it just because. Yeah, I'd agree with you, man. This cab is really starting to come together. I didn't think it would be too much of a highlight of the build. I sort of just thought it would just be something that I just had to get through and then get back to the building. But it's kind of fun that the Lego group situated the build here because you sort of just got done with the main, you know, the main kind of thrust of the building of the first floor. So it's great that they just decided to kind of break it up as well as they did. And that's the great thing about this Lego Daily Bugle, and it's the best compliment I can pay it so far. Even, you know, not just compliments about the build, because it's a beautiful looking build so far, but that I'm not getting bored doing it. And I feel like that I can just keep going with it. It doesn't feel monotonous to me, at least not yet. I mean, it could get that way, but it really doesn't feel that way yet. So I'm hanging on to that while I can. All right. I like how they're building up the sides, like the ridges of the front of the cab here. Which, that's one thing that's really fascinating to just watch, is if you ever go back and look at the evolution of Lego cars. Yeah, me neither. I don't get it. You would think that if they were going to all the trouble to put Firestar like in the set, why wouldn't your first instinct be to complete the Amazing Friends trio? I mean, that would have been to me a deal breaker. And I understand that, you know, they have reasoning behind everything they do that I'll never be privy to. But at the same time, you take like a minifig, like some of the random Daily Bugle workers, you know, I'm glad that we got some of the employees and they should be there because it's the Daily Bugle, but how easy would it have been to have knocked one of those guys out of the budget? Been like, you know what, we're doing Iceman. Which I don't know. There could be something at play with licensing there. And not that they wouldn't have the Iceman license. I mean, that would have been a concern a few years ago when 20th Century Fox was still involved. But I think that the concern might have been that Marvel Comics may just be like, you know, we don't want to give too much X-Men branding to something that we want to separate as a Spider-Man branded set. Which, you know, Firestar is supposed to be technically a member of the X-Men, so Not really sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah, me too. They should have been. This to me was an opportunity to just go ahead and build out the whole Sinister Six, like right here. And I'll tell you what really frustrates me, and this is just me maybe just being petty at this point, but I'm kind of aggravated that, that the only way to get a hold of Kraven the Hunter is, I think, wasn't he in the giant bridge, the Manhattan Bridge set from years ago, and that thing's like unattainable now. And I knew it was a really cool looking set when it came out, but I wasn't as deep into Lego as I am now. Like, why not find a way to give us Kraven the Hunter again? Like, that would have been tremendous. Now, I will say that there was an interview with the designers that shed light on a few of these questions. Yeah, I think they are. Maybe without Google, my old pal, it's hard to it's hard to remember exactly who came in what. But that was a cool looking set. Just from a standpoint of just being a cool bridge. Yeah. And and that set is so long gone that they have to know that they're creating a whole new audience for Marvel collector sets with this. I mean, they've got to know that. So I think that there will be a sequel set to this. That's what I think. And I'm not saying, exactly what it's going to be. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be at this point. But I do feel like there's going to be a pretty notable sequel set, and then we'll get the other. As a matter of fact, I sort of think a lot of the things in this, and it's just a hunch, I don't have anything to go on, I think a lot of the things in this are like direct references to, hey, in this next set, you're going to have Morbius. In this next set, you're going to have this, and you're going to have the Scarlet Spider, and you're going to have the Jackal. And so I do think that there's some foreshadowing going on there for what we're about to see. And part of it is how well will this sell. And if VIP early access sales are any indication for this set, then it's going to be a pretty big deal, I think. Scorpion. Yeah, $230 for the bridge. Well, I mean, it's not horrible to get it. I'm just cheap. I don't want to pay a cent more than what Lego originally charged. It's funny because when you get as deep as we do, I guess I'm trying to be stubborn about what I'm willing to pay, because if you're not, I guess it adds up pretty quick, really, all things considered. It's not something nobody's setting out to spend a penny more than you have to. But one thing I'm not willing to do yet, and I know that it's a big option for some of these sets, I'm not willing to go down the road of the rip-off, like Lego sets and all that. Yeah, it was somewhere in there, and I'm not 100% sure, but it was somewhere in there. It'll make your eyes water to go back and look at some of the priced apart deals that used to happen in Lego. It will. Your eyes will absolutely water. Of course, Lego, it's not, I don't want to say expensive. I don't want to say that it's always been super expensive. Yeah, I bet it's very similar. Like, very, if I had to guess. I mean, after a while, I'm not sure what you can do to make a taxi like too much different, Like, after a while, your company figures out how to do a taxi cab, and it's just, hey guys, I think we've got it. Especially like a certain type. Like this is your, stereotypical New York taxi, which wasn't Uber going to take these things out eventually. Maybe we won't see them after a few more years. But, after a while, there's only so many ways to build something like that. Yeah, that Spectacular Spider-Man show, man. I'm telling you right now, it's absolutely killer. Absolutely killer. Yeah, it makes it in the same. I'll tell you what really hurt my feelings. And I'm so much of a purist that I guess I just can't help myself. But when I realized that the only, like the classic Green Goblin minifig, like done like the old John Romita artwork, that was in that bridge set. And it killed me. And, this new Green Goblin minifig in here is a little more modern. And that's fine for what it is. But for me, I'm such a purist to that old artwork. And I want a very classical Green Goblin. The one that's included in this set reminds me more of Umberto Ramos's artwork when Green Goblin got all the, almost like a Kevlar suit, which I love. I love those Umberto Ramos Spider-Man stories. Cannot remember who wrote those at that time that I was reading them. But man, those were great. Came out when I was a teenager. They were fantastic. I'm still mad that they canned Spectacular Spider-Man. I feel like it was just heating up. I thought it was an incredible show. Absolutely incredible. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes I'm going to blame Marvel here. I think that they're the ones that are like, okay, can you please put in this more modern version of this character? I mean, it's, to me, if you're going to put Gwen Stacy in a set and she's sitting in there right now, why wouldn't you want to put Gwen in her classic John Romita kind of green skirt and the hairband and all that? Like, to me, that is quintessential Gwen Stacy. But, well, they're doing more of the Ghost Spider, modern comics kind of Gwen. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Totally cool. And I'm sure there's kids that's more iconic to them. They would probably look at the old Gwen Stacy design and be like, what? Why is she dressed like that? But to me, I mean, that's just, everybody, has something, I guess, in their heads that they see as the quintessential versions. To me, it's those John Romita designs of the characters. Probably be like that for the rest of my life. Yeah, Mary Jane, it's a good question, actually, which I think does lend credit to the theory that we'll be looking at a sequel set. And that, hey, they were like this time, okay, well, let's put Gwen Stacy in this one. We'll have Mary Jane ready for the next one. Now, it may be a while before we get it. It may be a year or two. But you also could see a situation like when the UCS 89 Batmobile was, I think, a bigger success than Lego thought it was going to be and sold massive numbers. And then they very quickly turned around on doing the Batwing. Aunt May's house. No, I'll tell you what, I would love to get like an apartment, like a Queen's apartment that Peter sneaks out of or whatever. And then you could do an expanded version of the Spider Lair somehow or another, maybe, even though we've just got it. I kind of want that Spider Lair, actually. I know it's, like a lot of the Spider-Man sets, it's a little kiddie, but it's definitely much more grown up than most of them. Oh, man. Yeah. It's making my dreams come true, man. I think it was Oscorp. Yeah. I think it was in the Origin of the Spider Friends episode. Don't they don't they clarify that it was Iron Man, that it was Tony Stark who like gives them the money and the technology to build the Spider Friends lair? Like that would, I'm pretty sure that that was the deal. Back then, it was, yeah. Back then, it was a funny little reference to a C-list Marvel hero. Nowadays, it would be like, oh, they're just trying to tie in the MCU. Iron Man's by far the most famous, which is, I would have told you that that was a bizarro world, you know, like years ago. I would have said that there's no way Iron Man is leading the Marvel Universe. Well, here we are. Makes me wonder what other characters would actually work in a leader role like that. Yeah, that's true. Actually, you could have little mini, kind of like the one on the desk in here on the first level of the Daily Bugle. You just throw that in there, man, where they slide it over and you can recreate it. Of course, for me, like and this is the truth, I'll go through times when I get the Amazing Friends theme song stuck in my head so much. And not just the theme song, but really, I guess what I'm saying is the background, like incidental music. And so I'll be walking through my house, and it's because I watched the VHS tapes so much when I was a kid for like a Firestar is Born. I'll be walking through my house, and all of a sudden I'll hear doom, doom, dee, doom, dee, 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 doom, 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 dee, doom. Ding, 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 ding. Like all that synth background music, which is really funny because they reuse that music for a bunch of different shows. Like all the music is like shared, and so it's really funny to be watching another show and hear Spider-Man as Amazing Friends music just pop up. All right, get this. A little taxi cab sign here. Yeah, yeah, all the Marvel cartoons. And you know what's really funny is if you really stretch yourself here and come to the conclusion, you know, you come to this realization that that was Marvel Studios. That is the true origin. That's what it was called. Marvel Studios. It's hard to believe. Who would have ever thought such humble beginnings? Of course, Stan was smart. You know, I don't mean to be two-faced about it, you know, by saying that he was an unscrupulous kind of cruel businessman, because he was in some ways, but he was also super smart because Stan realized as early as the 70s that that the key to longevity was to get the characters into movies and TV. And he knew it right away. And he was keenly aware of it. And other people they just weren't, they didn't have the kind of vision that he had for the characters. But it's hard to believe that he was so ahead of his time and knew, like instinctively, regardless of your misgivings about how much Jack Kirby had to do with some of the characters' creations versus Stan. It's still an incredible thing to think about from like a business perspective, because Stan was definitely ahead of his time. You guys ever watch that video on YouTube of Stan Lee heckling? I think he's with Todd McFarlane, and he's giving them a hard time over the pouches and all the crazy like 90s stuff about their modern heroes. And it's just like a compilation. It was like the little special they did about comic book artists and how they draw things. Of course, Stan was not an artist. He was an idea man. And he's just sitting there making fun of them like furiously, like nonstop, over all their choices. It's hilarious. All right, so next up, apparently we're building a base for the Sandman. So our taxi cab is done. This reminds me of the Spider-Man, what was it called? Shattered Dimensions, that's right. I think that was what it was called. Where you literally do fight the Sandman. Yeah, big chest. Yeah, big chest cab, man. That's what this reminds me of, is the crazy boss fight in that game. Yeah, big chest cap. I remember people have done, like, I've read whole articles about the impossibility of that anatomy. But, you know, that was not a concern for comic book artists of the 90s. I mean, heck, they were so proud of that. Wasn't it like didn't they, like, do a poster or something of it? Or clearly, they thought that was pretty great. They were not ashamed of it in the least. You can really go down a rabbit hole when it comes to doing research about the fallouts of all the different comic book creators in the 90s and all the different third-party studios. Yep, Rob Liefeld. Thank you. Could not for the life of me think of his name. Yeah, you can really go down a rabbit hole with all that. I mean, it's funny how many documentaries they keep making about the comics boom of the 90s and the Image Comics and McFarlane. I always feel like that people leave out Mirage and all of that, because really Mirage, even before Image and all that, with the Ninja Turtle stuff, was a kind of a trendsetter when it came to more independent comic book publishing. Nowadays, I'm not even really sure that independent comics is even in a conversation anymore. Really, the comic book conversation has shifted to, hey, will comic books still exist? You know, in a few years. And that's a sad shift that the conversation has made. I mean, I remember when there was all the rumors that DC was just getting ready to shut down, that the whole publishing division was going to be shut down, which may still happen. I don't know. There's lots of uncertainties about corporate ownership right now with Warner Media, so should tell you a little something, I guess. I guess Discovery. Oh yeah, it's a terrific story, and it deserves a little more play, I think. Especially because it's one of the only true, like, a couple of guys in their basement literally just came up with something, and it just happened to blow up. I think they were the first people to discover that, hey, it turns out if you put a bandana mask and give them ninja weapons, like on a anthropomorphic turtle, it turns out that's a really cool visual. And for some reason, we respond to it as humans. I have no idea why. It's one of those things that in a million years you couldn't go back in a time machine and try to explain it to, like, somebody else. They would never believe you if you went back to, like, the 60s or the 50s and tried to explain that the next big thing in the 90s was going to be this anthropomorphized turtle characters. They would never believe it, not a million years. A friend of mine recently shared something with me, and it's my buddy TJ. He shared something from this BBC podcast or radio program, and it was where this really proper, well-educated British gentleman, it was a skit, it wasn't, a real story or anything, where he's trying to entertain this kid and who wants to hear about the Ninja Turtles in the 90s. And so he doesn't know what they are, but when the kid tells him their names, he just decides that they had to be like Renaissance era like turtle impersonators of like famous Renaissance artists who were like trying to get like their paintings funded. So he like drones on this impossibly long and complicated story all about the turtles becoming famous artists. And they even like vocalize the turtles as like Renaissance era like artisans. It's just insane. It's the kind of thing you don't know that you want to hear it until you hear it. It's kind of that dry British humor. Maybe that's disingenuous of me to be so one-dimensional about that and just assume that British humor is dry. Okay. I like this. These are like little panels that are hooked onto this to make the rock base. I will say that they found a way to make Sandman a lot more interesting than they could have, because he had the potential. Oh yeah, when Venus was introduced. Oh my gosh. I remember knowing that was bad when I was little. like it's a shame when like a 11 or 12-year-old kid or 10-year-old kid can look at something like that, and you're not even got your stupid blinders on enough to like tell you that anything is cool about that. And here's the thing, it's not like it's impossible to make that cool or interesting. Like it's not, I don't think that the idea of a girl turtle is just like a cursed idea and it's just never going to work or whatever. I think it is possible. But good night. Next Mutation should have been like a massive hit. And if they had had any clue what they were doing with the Turtles brand, it would have been. It was the perfect opportunity to sequelize the cartoon series and keep the brand going. But talk about letting down their end. Oh boy. I still remember getting the Fox Kids magazine that had the reveal in it, all about Turtles' Next Mutation, and being so excited. Like I really was. I was excited beyond belief. But the finished product did not match the hype, so. I remember even as a kid, knowing that they had like cheaped out on a lot of the show because they had the awful like non-moving mouth in so many scenes, and like you knew that it wasn't exactly quality. It was obvious. It was obvious. Yeah, they did. They tried really hard to make it like Power Rangers and as successful as Power Rangers. Even going so far as to do that crossover thing, which, you know, I'm definitely a Power Rangers guy, and even that didn't I like it. It did nothing for me. Probably because, like, okay, you know, I like hot dogs, and I also like cereal. That doesn't mean I want pieces of hot dog in my cereal. Like, some things don't really go together, and yeah, there's a crossover for Power Rangers in space. The Ninja Turtles show up, even though they're played by different voice actors than was in the Next Mutation series, because it's something to do with the. Yeah, I know, right? It was something to do with the Voice Actors Guild or Actors Guild or something. So they're There's a little difference there, but like the turtles are turned evil by Astronema briefly, and there's a misunderstanding, and they have a fight. It's ridiculousness. Although, you know, I'm willing, yeah, and you can. I think there's clips of it all over. I think they pulled most of that stuff from Netflix. I actually really liked the 2007, I think it was 2007, Imagi CGI Turtles movie. I thought that was really well done. The designs of the turtles weren't exactly what I would have done, but I really liked it. I thought it was had a lot of heart, very well written. Pretty good, really, all things considered. All right. It's a pretty cool rock base. I like this because it looks like the pavement is being like lapped up with the sand. Yeah, I like that actually. Pretty cool. They took something that could have been very visually boring and just the same that they'd always done. They did something pretty special with it, really. A little off track on this. I'm gonna go back and fix a couple of things here. I noticed something wasn't working right on the Sandman base. However, I'm not messing up nearly as much as I did on the first video. So for that, I am thankful. There we go, that's better. I think that's better. All right, man. Take care. Good talking to you. All right. So we got this one. I think this is the last thing we build for this bag. This piece. This piece. The Sandman's chariot of sand and rock. Okay. This is kind of cool. better. Call that a sand disc. We have more of the pieces of pavement, like this one. And over here. Man, this thing is getting crazy looking. My gracious. Look at that. Good night. We have another little piece that's going to hook on. I'm liking the complexity of this thing, although I've heard that it can fall apart pretty easy. And it is made out of sand. Looks like a ninja throwing star. All right. I think that's it for his insane mound of sand and rock. Yep. Let me just plug Sandman, Flint Marco right here. Plug him in. And there we go. We have the craziest looking minifig and brick built combination imaginable. Man, that's crazy looking. Okay. Here. So it looks like we're making a dumpster. Easy, easy. Looks like we make 2 of them. Okay. And rinse and repeat. Connect. 2 bricks at the bottom. Then we've got garbage that we're going to build. Literal garbage. We have cans of soda. We have a hot dog bun with a rotted hot dog piece. Something Beetlejuice would eat, maybe. Oh, that's cool that it clips in there. We have some berries, different colors. And looks like one of them is for cans and one of them is for food. So this actually comes off. You take your 3 cans, put them in there. At least they're sorting the recycling, right? Well, the food can't be recycled. Okay, all the food pieces. I think I got a couple of extra food pieces, so they're gonna go in there too. Why not? We'll have it be a little more full. Okay, put the lid back on. Got that. Got that. Little feet on the dumpster here. Okay, and I think that goes in the back of the building. And that might be it. I'm gonna put Bernie, the cab driver, in his cab. Don't know if he has enough room for an actual passenger. It's not usually something Lego worries about too much at minifig scale, although it would be nice. Okay, we got Bernie in there. And then on the back, we'll place the trash cans. Here's one of them. Here is the other. I think they're meant to be like cornered a little bit like that, catty cornered. Okay. All right. Well, looks like we've reached the epic conclusion of another bag, or another couple of bags actually. My goal is to try to do a couple of bags or so every day. And this is where we came out to. We have the newsstand. Looks really good. Cab looks really good. Got the sign up. So check back with me tomorrow, and yeah, we'll see how much more we can build. Hopefully we'll get this thing done before the end of the week. All right, big thank you to everybody who stuck around and watched with me and all the great conversation we had. So thank you everybody so much. God bless you all and have a great night.